What's going on, guys? T2RX6 here, back for another third-party review, and today we're taking a look at the Cubex OTS-01, OTS standing for Old Timer Series, and this is Huff, otherwise known as Huffer.
Oh, I said we leave right now and forget about stumbling through this stupid review.
Whoa, you speak?
Of course I do. I'm an Autobot.
Alright, that's just weird. We just gotta get through this review, though. So anyway, this is the first offering, as far as I know, from Cubex here. And, you know, right out of the box, the first impressions are, I really like this guy. The plastic feels pretty good. I would probably equate it fairly close to the modern Hasbro Deluxes, where it's maybe not quite as beefy feeling as, you know, one of these guys here, but it still feels like fairly high quality plastic. It doesn't feel cheap or knockoff in any way. And yeah, I love this guy's, you know, alt mode. I know the X-Transbots one has a bit more of a realistic vehicle mode, but I just really like how this captures the G1 TV show here. And I feel like a lot of this was done with a big love letter to the, you know, the original Huffer character. Inside the box you get these two cards here, which kind of tell you the whole story of Huffer if you want to stop and read it, as well as his stats. And then again in Japanese and more kind of like the traditional packaging, at least with the grid work there. And I really like this instruction manual, to be honest. There's a couple things that are a little unclear on the steps, things I think were kind of better suited if I had realized certain things, but really it's not bad, and I really like some of the stuff they did. Like, you know, here's that bio again, but everything is written in 2 languages, and inside the box as accessories you get an extra face here, and they tell you basically that, hey, this was the original design of the face. Fan feedback said we wanted more cartoon accurate, which is the diamond shaped eyes. And so we left it in the box because some of you preferred it. So I love that they took some fan feedback. And then here is the original design. Fists are non-articulated. And fans kind of said they wanted them, so they included the non-articulated fists in here too. And if you want, you can leave them in the box as a souvenir. And they even, you know, go through, show some of the artwork and stuff. And in the end, some of the things that it can do. And, yeah, they even tell you, you know, hey, Huffer's weapon here comes from this one cartoon episode, and when this happened, and, you know, he doesn't use his gun very much, so that must be why he has a power of 1. So, pretty interesting that they've pointed out exactly where they've drawn the source material from. And I can't fault them for that. That's really nice. So, let's get on to this review here.
I'm doomed. I know it. I can feel it in my data bank.
Calm down, Huffer. You're gonna be okay. It's no big deal. So looking at this toy here, pretty good. Rolls pretty decently. I find if you don't have the legs done properly, sometimes these back wheels don't spin so much. You can kind of see as he goes forward, the front rolls and the back doesn't. It's not horrible. Whatever, it serves its purpose. You can open up this tab here on the top, and inside here is his weapon. And what this is actually, how it's intended is you're supposed to take the Optimus Prime trailer and you can come down and grab it with the hooks off the computer unit and pull it straight up, because there's really no easy way to get to this from the top here. Now you can cheat, you can start transforming them sort of, and just kind of pull this forward and you can push it through from the bottom here and take this on out. And basically it's just to give you some kind of play factor with MP10's base mode, but you know, whatever. It also serves the dual purpose that we could take our Masterpiece Spike here if you really want, and you can kind of just sit him on in here and you can close this all up, and he looks pretty decent sitting in there. And I really like that there's a back truck window, pretty nice. But it's not all sunshine and roses with Huff here. You can see, like when I go to close this, it doesn't exactly fit quite right, so you end up having to kind of open this and kind of tilt it back a tiny bit, and then you can kind of click it in place. And I find that happens with a lot of the pieces on this toy, is that there's little tiny tolerance issues that just keep it a little bit off.
There's two things I really hate, T2RX6.
What's that, Huffer?
Eye gear and power core combiners.
Well, this is going to be kind of awkward because I just happen to have the eye gear and the power core combiner bots right here for a size comparison. So, sorry buddy. As you can see, quite substantially bigger than your eye gear and your power core combiners, and certainly fitting the part better than power core combiner. So yeah, I really like how he looks. Now, this guy kind of scales really nicely with your Masterpiece line and your Classics line. Considering that this Bumblebee scales really nicely with your Masterpiece line, and he's kind of like the established size that they have for Masterpiece, or I'm sorry, he's the established size for your Deluxe line, or Classics line, whatever, and he scales nicely with your Masterpiece. This Huffer kind of fits either shelf, so that's pretty nice. Here's the Art Feather Bumblebee, just for comparison here. And here we'll take our MP10 Optimus Prime, just for a size comparison here. And you can see Optimus is pretty substantially bigger than Huffer here, in all shapes and sizes. But, you know, that's cool. I really like the size difference here. And what we're going to do is take this hitch, and we're going to fold out these pieces here, like so. And then right here, there's a little tab we can grab, and we'll push down on it. And if we're lucky, we'll pop up that little black piece. Now, I find that this doesn't necessarily peg in 100% great, but it serves its purpose. Leave the tabs up here, and carefully rotate this hitch on downwards. And try not to mess up your legs in the process. Whoops. There we go. And once we get this all rotated in place and kind of pegged on in here, we've now got a hitch high enough for our MP10 trailer once we get this worked out. There we go, finally. So we get this like this, and we kind of adjust these pieces accordingly, and you can just peg in Optimus's trailer, if you can see it when you're sitting this far away, like so. And you need these to be in position, because if it's not, the whole assembly is going to tilt, and then Huffer is not going to sit terribly well. So there we go. We got it pegged in. This could have been implemented a little better. Let's not lie about this. He certainly could have been pegged in, made this whole assembly a little bit more sturdy to peg in the trailer, but it is cool to see that it has been included. Now, one other thing I wanted to note before we go to his robot mode here, I'm not a big fan of how his chest doesn't really peg into anything into vehicle mode, so it's always kind of loose like that. It will peg in when we actually get him to his robot mode, but for now, yeah, it's pretty loose. And this back piece here, it will tab in for me, but it's very easy to pop out, and sometimes it's hard to, you can see I got it in one side here, and this other side doesn't really want to cooperate quite as much. So that can be a little bit of a pain. But we're going to loosen this anyway, because we're going to go and take him to his robot mode. So the first thing we're going to do is open up this top here. You take out your gun by sliding this all the way back as far as it can go, and pushing your finger through to get that out. And once we've got that out of the way, we're going to take this little purple piece, and we're going to fold this on up, like so. We want to split his legs here, and not forget that your hitch is in place, holding it in place. So take this hitch and put it aside. Once we get there, you kind of want to grab his hips, and they extend just a tiny bit. Now we're going to come around here to this back piece, and you can see it kind of has a little bit of a stress to it on here. It doesn't go through the plastic all the way, and it's certainly not a point that I've seen any stress pulling on it or anything, so I'm not really sure why there's a little stress mark here. It was like that for mine from the factory, but be careful just in case there's some kind of, stiffness there. I'm thinking that there's probably some kind of flashing or molding that was on this as it was getting pegged in and it stressed it out a little. Anyway, we're going to open up these top back panels here and we're going to fold these wheels on in. And this is, again, like I said, things could have been just designed just a little better, because we're going to close this and you can see it hits the wheel, so you kind of have to push on this piece of plastic just a bit to push it to the side. And as far as I see, that's not affecting the piece here that is stressed, but you're going to put that like that and then you can close that leg. And I feel like they could either A, lost this piece here, or maybe put a little cutout on the wheel somewhere that you could see exactly the spot that you're supposed to push it to transform it, but whatever. So that tucks the wheels away. Next we're going to rotate these so the wheels are backwards and the hollow spaces are facing us. And we'll rotate the foot pieces so the silver parts are forward, and kind of drop this little exhaust pipe type portion downwards like this. Now for this part, there's a lot of things you can kind of do with these legs. We're gonna swing them on out here, and you can see it's on like a joint that swings here and the knee joint like this. And you can kind of position these however you want. So we're gonna take these panels, close them on up to form the front of the legs. And this is where you really need to make your own decision how you want this guy to look. If you want the knees to be up there, give you a better range of motion, that's good. If you want them, more forward so the leg is a bit more forward and it hides the knee joints, you can do that too. It's all a matter of personal preference for that part. And you can see these panels, I actually put a little bit of clear nail polish on them, and they still don't really hold closed that well. I'm going to have to build up an extra layer on them. And yeah, like I said, not all sunshine and roses, but he's really not that bad. So we're finished with the legs. So we're going to come to here. Now this part is a little bit scary because you can open these on up and they're really quite stiff to open. They don't feel like they want to open. And I've yet to find any way that really feels good, and you just end up kind of torquing on this piece of plastic, which kind of scares me because considering how little the peg is that holds this thing in together, I feel like, easily I could turn this and end up breaking this whole thing off. So be real careful opening these lids. Yeah, see how when I'm trying to do it, it flexes here, and I don't know any real good way to not make that happen. But I don't know, I might have to file something down here a little bit and see if I can make it open a little easier. But once you have this open, you can see he's just kind of gripping them. So carefully wiggle the hands free out of here. Like that. And then you can close these on back up. And remember, you're going to have to open them again later to put them away. But fold that on in and rotate this on around so the thing that was holding his weapon is hanging out the back now. And once we have it here, you can close up this back panel on the top. So now we'll come to the front here, and we're going to start by taking these and folding these in. Once again, we have one of those issues where I feel like we could have had just a bit more tolerance here to get the wheel to go past the neck area, so you have to kind of push it a little bit to bend the plastic a tiny bit and push it out of the way. Nothing feels like it's going to break on this. It's not so bad. Then we're going to take these panels and open them on up like this, and there is little holes here to peg into, so peg them in on both sides here. Now what we're going to do is take this plate here and swing it all the way forward. And actually, this one does help to have this back piece open. and everything spun out of the way, so you can use your finger from behind to kind of position this. Again, we run into, let me raise this camera a tiny bit here. We run into one of those issues where when you're dropping this plate, because of how it's made, you kind of have things stuck here, so you want to try to get it past real gently so it lines up straight, and then just push it on down like so. And you should see that this back black piece should actually go all the way vertically up, and that'll be when this is in the right position. And that's why having a hand from behind really helps, because you can make sure you've got this piece rotated properly. So it should look something like this. The next thing you want to do is kind of drop this whole thing down. And I can't quite figure out these shoulders. They feel like they're supposed to be separated from the back of the truck, but whenever I move the entire thing, they kind of move together. You can see the slides in the cab piece here, and they're a little bit hard to operate. So usually I just kind of slide the cab down here, and then you flip the shoulders on up like so, and you have to open this back piece here, and then pull everything on up, and you'll see that that locks these into these tabs on the side. Be real careful of this, because if you don't realize they're there, you're going to shear these tabs off. So careful with that. Flip his head on around here like this, and we can actually close this up. And you may need to mess with this a little bit. I know with this arm I kind of have to hold it a little to make it peg into these peg holes here like so on both sides. But once you do, the chest should be pretty rigidly locked in place. There we go. And that's not going to move now. So you can see we have his arms, and what we need to do now is put your fingers underneath his shoulders like this, and then push down with the cab. And it's not going to go very far. Those little orange clips don't hold in anything, they just contact the back there. But it'll push down a little bit, and you can see these black slides now are at the top. And I like his knees personally a little bit in front of his legs here, so we're going to leave him like that. We'll drop his hands down, or his arms down here, and then this one already kind of did it on its own. Flip these little tiny pieces up to give the shoulders of Huffer here, and there we go. We've got Huffer in his robot mode. Now the instructions say, oh, and you can also, like I always forget on Optimus, flip the mirrors in. The instructions say in alt mode, flip these around to be more cartoon accurate. I think they meant in his robot mode, but maybe there was a scene where he didn't have headlights in the TV show. And you can just kind of get him in there, get your finger in there a little, maybe better than I can. And once you do that, maybe. There we go. You can actually flip it around so you lose the headlight on all these. And actually it is pretty interesting, because when you think about it, let me pull our G1 Huffer out in a second as soon as I get this flipped around. You can see it from the other side too, if you can get your finger back there. When you really look at it with the panel here and the panel here, pretty similar to what you've got going on here without the clear bits in there. Oops, I realized I never flipped this thing back around. Now what this is intended for you to do is store the weapon back on his back, but we still have to make that weapon. So we're going to take Huffer and we're just going to sit him here like so. You can also take these if you want and kind of use them as heel spurs to give them a little bit more back support if you want them to. They don't need to, depending on the surface. Like I said, this desk has a little bit of a backwards lean on it, but it will help if you do need them. So we got Huffer here. We take his gun here, or the weapon thing, and you just kind of slot the hitch on in like that, and your hitch actually ends up becoming the handle for his gun, as you can see. And you can take it, and if you want, you probably have to open this first. But you can take it and carefully slot it on the clear tab pieces back here. And close this back on up. Probably best to keep that closed, but there we go, we got his gun stored on his back. And we'll just take it out like this, flip it on out, lock it on in, and there we go, put it in his hand. Now his hands are a little bit articulated. You can open up the hands, not really anything major on there. I might end up swapping mine out for the non-movable ones just so nothing breaks on them. Range of motion on this guy pretty good. I like the fact that I can get my fingers in here and actually work with his head. It is only on a swivel, and it looks like it might have one of those up and down joints, but you really can't get a whole bunch of movement out of it. At least I can on mine. Let's spin it around here to the back. Yeah, you can see it's about all the movement we can get out of it. Looks pretty awkward from the side, but not bad. Head looks really nice with the diamond eyes that are G1 accurate. The shoulders are on a swivel and another swivel here. They're just watch the top of the shoulders because as you move them up, it's going to mistransform them. We do have a elbow here. It's a double jointed one. I do not believe there's a bicep. Oh, there is. It just was really tough to move on this one. And we have, of course, the wrist swivel right here. Down here to the waist, of course, we've got a nice waist joint down here. The legs are on your standard universal side to side, forward, back. You do have thighs here. The thighs were really tight on mine. I actually spent a couple minutes just twisting them around like this to work off, I'm assuming, some paint based on how it's painted is probably causing a little bit of a binding issue on mine. The knees, really nice range of motion out of the knees. You saw the double jointed aspect of the knees. Down to the foot here, there is a ankle tilt on this guy. That's about all you're getting for the ankle. But really, it's a pretty solid range of motion here for this little guy. I do think that my hips are a little bit loose on this guy. It'd be nice if there was maybe a ratchet or something to keep him from doing this, but for the most part, you know, once I've had him standing somewhere, you know, he hasn't been tipping over. So for some size comparisons here, let's bring Huffer's two favorite people along here. It's his Power Core Combiner self and his iGear self, just for size comparison. We'll also bring in the G1 version, and while we have them, I might as well show the Masterpiece Spike. Also becoming a staple of these reviews, it seems. And again, like I said, he can fit right alongside your Masterpieces or your Classics. Here's Art Feather and Custom Bumper. And we might as well leave Art Feather in here and put in a proper official Masterpiece release. And there is Smokescreen. And I really like the size. I don't feel that he's too big to be considered one of the mini bots. I like how he scales with the other cars. It's a really nice size. So overall, I say that this toy is pretty good. I like seeing the fact, I think he's a really good first run by Cubex here. I'm interested to see how they improve as they go forward. I would have loved to have seen these actually in chrome, but honestly, the silver on these really aren't all that bad. I'm not that upset, and I'm sure we'll get something like repro labels, chrome stickers here eventually. Still, not bad. Some of the joints and stuff are a little bit tough. Some things could use a little bit of a better fit and finish on them, but a solid first entry. And at least as of this point, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar, I had a Stax. He broke within like 20 minutes of opening him up. I'm waiting for a replacement. I've heard that my Stax is just a fluke, and he's better quality than I've seen, but I guess we'll see. I do know that I feel that this guy feels like he's a much better toy, But overall, I'd say if you're looking for a masterpiece huffer, I think this guy fits the bill. He's got the overhung back like G1 huffer, maybe a little bit too tall up here, but it's really not that horrible. I actually personally think it looks better than the X-Transbots one, which is a little bit too low in my opinion. But yeah, not bad. I think you will enjoy him if you have him on a masterpiece shelf. Just be careful of some of the tabs and things. You have to kind of bend a little bit to transform them. So, this is T2RX6. I hope you guys enjoyed the review, and as always, I'll see you next week.
Woo! I never thought they'd leave.